trying to tell them to do it here, but we've always been given the paper for them to write on. And that's what I thought you were referring to as your fancy paper.
Oh, sorry.
But we have always given them, and I tell them to skip a line. But just as on, you know how our sign out sheet for the restroom is multicolored?
Yes.
And I would have my students always skip a line, so that skipped line or colored line is where you go back and do your editing and revision. Because what I'm seeing for those who choose not to just say skip a line, they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And they have no place to put those edits and revisions in because there's no place to write it. And they surely don't want to rewrite the whole thing.
No, right.
So, and that's how, in years past, I've gotten them to actually more encouraged to, oh, okay, just put your little, this is where I need this.
Yeah.
I agree, because if you tell them, like, you need to add a sentence here, what sentence could you add, and they think of it, and you go, okay, draw an arrow and write it here,
Yeah.
and you're gonna add it there, it is not
Yeah,
gonna
they're
happen.
not gonna do
No.
it. But
Right.
It's gonna be at the end of,
Yes.
at this point, I have 3 who are actually skipping the lines. Now, my 5 special friends, I actually will highlight paper for them, and then my one that's supposed to only use the handwriting for tears paper for everything, that's what is a struggle for her, because today she was writing like this, and I said, no, and then it just.
And that's why I have some students that write huge too, and that's why I was wanting to, I just want them to get more familiar with it, and like.
So one thing I did that somebody, when we were at that writing professional development had mentioned, and it worked for my kids, was, so, on the very back page where they were supposed to write their rough draft, I did give some of mine a line sheet of notebook paper to get in there, and so you could see the lines through it, and so that kept them from in their draft writing so big. That was
smart.
it. And I mean,
do that on Stardust.
I don't know. I think it's all connected.
Well, I know
They
it's all
could-
connected, but
they
the
could
thing
still do
is,
that.
Okay.
Is
But
because
by-
they're supposed to be able to get scratch paper.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking, if you just showed them. But additionally, just having that practice, once they do it, they're going to develop a lot between now and, next
4th
year.
grade,
Yeah, a year and a half. But,
One hope.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just, I gave my kids who write large the line sheet of paper to put in and it did seem to help them.
Okay. So for me, since I know that you're behind, but since if we everyone else kind of stayed on track,
Yes,
I'm
thank
doing
you.
conference for details because I do think that's smart because I have noticed that. Revise and editing on Tuesday, peer rev editing, publishing on Wednesday, Christmas writing on Thursday, and I actually want to do a quick write that Friday because my kids are working towards building their
Writing stamina.
writing stamina, so that's an opportunity for them to fill in some of our bubble, because if they get the whole thing filled out, we do ice cream floats because it's super cheap, because all I have to do is buy the ice cream, and I tell them they can bring a can of soda, ice cream floats that they can write for 15 minutes straight without stopping or asking. Anyway, so we're going to work on that Friday.
I like that idea.
Good.
I have a question about the writing, the editing portion of the test. I noticed that we don't have access to, or do we? And I don't. Where I came from, those were weekly tests. I mean, serious. Those were weekly that they saw that format where they read a passage and did that. Those were, that was a weekly thing that we did.
I will say this, last year the superintendent was very, very big on do not teach to the test. when I say that, like, we were only allowed to show star format things was with the benchmark. However, at this point where we're
This is
at,
not a star benchmark. This is Texas Treasures. That is straight from.
yes, and that's what I was gonna say.
Mhm.
That's what I was gonna say. I will be, after seeing that she was basically pulling this directly from Texas Treasure, I will be starting to do one a week.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
don't
do
have
that.
I'm not saying do it one a week, but I don't even have access to that.
The practice book, the Texas Treasure practice book.
That's not what my kids' practice book that they each have.
It's a
That's-
teacher
Yeah,
assessment.
That's yes.
I have it because she got it out of my room and I didn't even know I had it. She pulled it off the shelf.
I know because where I came from, I mean, last year I didn't teach third grade, but I had
The resources
everything
there.
there is for Texas Treasures, and I've
Yeah.
taught it for
And I don't either.
4 years.
Yeah. I'm
So
not
if
sure.
there are ever things that you are needing, you're welcome to come and look
And
through
I'll
my
share that with
things.
you too, Angela.
We
'cause I
do
have
need
them.
to be cautious because if she is just pulling things out of
Don't
Texas
wanna give her
Treasures,
something.
we need to ask her if she knows for the next one we'll be using this, you
Hey,
know.
kids, it's the one we practiced.
Right. We just need to make
Okay,
sure.
made it
And I've got about
Pick
half
our
that
scores.
will not make that connection because
Yeah,
they'll have
that's true.
slept.
That's true.
Seriously, from the beginning to the end of the day, it's.
Now, I
it's
had
not.
some, I put on, when I first turned on my morning warm-up this morning, they realized before I did that we had already done this one. It had been a few days, but they realized quickly before I even did. I was like, no, we haven't.
Mine will tell me real quick.
Yes, we have.
So
I think we should
Reading?
include that though. Is once a week okay? To do some kind
well,
of.
okay, I said it like that. What I'm going to start to do, or wanting to start to do, is for homework, have our math homework, and also start giving them like either a writing passage a day with the 5 question that it usually comes with to go home and do at home, so parents can start seeing that also. And then like rotate. So 1 week send home a reading passage with questions, send those home, work with that home, parents can see the format, and then the next week do a writing, parents can see the format. So, you know, it's alternating. They would still have math homework every week, but then start adding, and I've already told my kids this too, that they will be starting after Christmas, getting more homework. Because I will say as a teacher, I have been lacking on that because I did know a lot of my students have after school curriculum activities. However, it's getting to the point where, of course, this is more important. So, I will be starting that after Christmas, sending 1 passage home with at least 5 questions for the, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a math homework.
Okay.
And I'm frankly just copying them out of one of my stuff. Not gonna reinvent the wheel. For reading next week,
So reading next week, we're still working with expository text, and this will be our last week of this unit. So some of the teaks that will be the same that you need to incorporate during small group time or your read alouds are establish a purpose for reading, the author's purpose, author's stated purpose. I would still be trying to incorporate into my daily 5 stations or however in small group text features, because that is one thing that we're not teaching again explicitly in this unit. So anytime you can ask questions about that or draw their attention to that. And so remember, our TEAK is more than just identify the text features.
Mhm.
Although with some of them, I'm noticing that's where I'm having to start. Is some of them are struggling to identify specific text features. So with some of my struggling readers during small group, when we do our first day and we're doing that picture walk is when I'll really quiz them on identifying them and giving them a sentence frame.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're coming to my guided reading group, they always bring their daily five, what I have as their daily five folder, and I'll write them a sentence starter. So maybe it's, I used bold print to predict I'm going to learn about the tundra, or whatever. And they would fill in the text feature and then what they're going to learn about. So that's usually in my first day that I meet with the group for the week, is I'm still doing those small things on the side. And so those are things that we've already taught. Main idea will be moving on from main idea, but you'll still want to give them practice in their daily 5 stations, identifying the main idea, using a variety of graphic organizers. Again, I've looked at all of the different ways that it's been assessed, and it's very rarely been assessed using the same graphic organizer. And none of them are cute. They're always, they're not, it's not ever a table or an ice cream cone. It's always boxes and flowcharts.
Yep.
And I've told my students that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've told
I've
my
showed
students all these little cutesy things that you want to just spend all day drawing.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be there.
I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah.
I've been on the board going, box, main idea, square.
I just do a
Right.
line. I just do a
Detail,
line.
detail.
Main idea, line, detail, off of that example.
Yeah.
More like a skeleton.
I've been getting real
So, may not be on.
going.
So what is new next week is identify explicit cause and effect relationships among ideas in text. And this is only for expository text. This too has been primarily presented to them in START using a graphic of some kind.
Okay.
So they will provide the cause, and the student will have to, from 4 choices, choose what the effect would be. Or they will provide the effect, and the student will have to, from the choices, determine what the cause will be.
I did
So,
a cute one
I
this
have-
morning with my kids on the board. It said cause, Christmas vacation, and then it had effect, and they had to make a list. And I gave them the first one, no school, and they had to add 5 things.
Yeah,
And then
that's
I was like, did anybody put sleep late? Because that's a great thing.
That's
And
what
they're
I
like,
was
oh
gonna-
yeah, stay up late. Oh yeah, and then they got rolling.
Yeah.
It was cute.
Yeah, I have these resources if anybody needed them, because I know you said both ways. So like, I found this cause and effect sort that I would probably do together with them. Like not all of them, of course, but like a mini. And then I have this, write a possible effect or cause for each of the scenarios. So it goes either way. So it can go, you have the effect, what could be the cause of that? What could be, and then this one gives a, so I have these if anyone would like a copy.
So would that be though identify? That's not identify though. That's generate. That would be generating the cause and effect statement.
They'll need the, whatever graphic.
That's true. Darn it.
Right?
And that's where we all get dinged, if you will, is not using the correct verb. When, because we'll have all these great ideas, but if you're not using the correct Bloom's taxonomy verb when you're being evaluated, that's, so you gotta be careful.
So they're not generating cause and effect relationships.
So like,
They're
something
not
like-
creating them.
giving them expository text to